Right, thank you very much and welcome. My name is Tari Munchezi. We are broadcasting live from the Parliament of the Republic of South Africa. It's the South Africa's State of the Nation address, and tonight President Ramaphosa will deliver the much awaited State of the Nation address. And I'm quite excited that the number of key stakeholders as far as South Africa's sovereignty is concerned are here. That will be part of the conversation as well. I'm not alone. I'm with my co-presenter, Tsogofaso Mudubu, here in the studio in Cape Town. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tali. Good evening again to all our viewers on Goza TV. And in studio today, we've got Commissioner Mike Masiapato from the Border Management Agency, and we'll be talking to him tonight. Over to you, Dali.
Thank you very much. Dr. Masiapato, welcome to this special broadcast. This important State of the Nation address will review South Africa's performance in a number of areas as well. You're specifically looking at our borders as well and guiding South Africa against all the challenges we might face in our borders as well. How do you look at 2025?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Maybe the first thing to indicate is that, yes, 2025 was our full second year of operation, as the Border Management Authority. And that is basically the year which the BMA was able to introduce even technology that we had always been talking about, that we said that we were going to introduce in as far as border management is concerned. We were able to introduce during April of 2025 around key drones that we actually deploy around our ports of entry, particularly in those critical areas, around your Bait Bridge port of entry towards Zimbabwe, the Libombo port of entry towards Mozambique, Maseru Bridge, and all of those, just to make sure that we are able to monitor the movement of persons and all of that. The other key introductions that we have done in the past year, 2025, was also the introduction of the body cams, where the officials actually operate wearing the body cams. That is very much critical in terms of addressing this general issue of corruption, because once the officials do the work, we are able to actually follow through, their interaction with the travelers in terms of both visuals as well as audio, in terms of the work that they do at the port within our National Border Targeting Center in Pretoria. So we're able to see them.
Talking about targeting, one will think that the busiest will be OR Tambo International Airport, but also you also have Bait Bridge. Some of the challenges there, but also I'm sure that you are also looking at other borders where you're continually having challenges as well. But also, we want to hear areas of improvement as far as they've been 3 years in operation, some of the nitty-gritties that you can share with us.
Yeah, I think the first thing that we can talk about, if we talk about areas of improvement, you will remember that our work is actually embedded in Section 5, subsection A, B, and C of the Border Management Authority Act. And it is purely about facilitating legitimate movement of persons and goods. And on that basis, we can say that one of the fundamental improvements has been the ability to bring in efficiencies, particularly in terms of the processing of the movement of goods across our ports. You will remember traditionally there used to be instances where there will be a lot of trucks, that will be stuck on the corridor, whether it's the N1 to Bait Bridge, whether it is the N4 to Libombo, whether it's the N8 to Maseru, where there will be a lot of trucks that are queuing there stuck, primarily because there were a lot of bureaucratic processes that were implemented at the ports. We brought in efficiencies, and by the way, we do now have a scientific review in terms of what we've been able to implement. We've been able to implement mechanisms through which we're able to reduce the waiting time at the port from about a day, 2 days, and in other areas 5 hours to around 20 minutes, end to end. Processing that is done by both our side as well as our immediate neighborhood. And on that particular basis, if you think about Libombo, for instance, we are able to process just between 1,500 to 2,000 trucks per day. And that is basically the kind of efficiencies that we brought in. But other areas of improvement is the bringing in of biometric movement control system across our ports. And that is why if you go to OR Tambo, you will realize there that we have better processing timeline in terms of the way people they used to stand there for long period of time being processed. And now we are able to process them in a very short space of time. So those are our key areas of improvement.
Yeah.
Commissioner, I think I would like to understand, December is a busy period for the Border Management Agency, and you recently did a media briefing just to outline, the successes of your operations. You've got Easter upcoming, and you also probably need to prepare. If you can just take us into confidence around what type of preparations are required for those peak seasons for movement of people.
No, thanks, Seho. Maybe the first thing to indicate is when we are to do any operation, we do a lot of planning. The planning that we do, if you think about the December-January operation, which is the longest, by the way, that we do, in that particular period, we start our planning around September. And it becomes a planning period that runs through a number of months from September, and then until we then start the actual operations, which we start in December. During the planning phase, we have a lot of stakeholders that we engage with. We go and engage with provincial authorities in terms of traffic authorities, for instance. We also go and engage with the traffic management structures, for example, the RTMC, the Road Traffic Management Corporation. We engage with Cross-Border Road Transport Agency. But we also engage with local municipalities broadly, particularly around the management of the corridors, particularly during the exit leg. So that's the nature of the engagement that we do. But we also engage with the state security structures like SSA. We engage with the police and all of that. They give us the threat assessment to indicate what are the key areas of concern that we need to be worried about, particularly for interceptions and all of those. So after all of those plannings having been done, then we are able to indicate that our actual implementation or execution, in this instance, it started on the 10th of December 2025. It ran until the 15th of January 2026. So from the 10th until the 31st of December was the exit leg, when people were leaving the country. From the 1st of January to the 15th is when people are returning into the country. We call it the return leg. And then after that, we start the demobilization, which we did on the 16th. And then we start moving towards now demobilization of the teams, but also planning for Easter. As we speak now, the planning for Easter is underway, and we're definitely going to implement it accordingly.
Okay. What is the partnership between the BMA and the South African National Defence Force, particularly at what is popularly known as porous borders? If you can just outline how that partnership helps to keep our borders safe, but particularly also make sure that there is no illicit goods that are moving across into the country.
So if you were to look at Section 5C of the Border Management Authority Act, it says, when we do this border management work, we need to make sure that we cooperate and coordinate with other critical organs of state. And SNDF is one of those. The second critical one is the SAPS, and the third critical one is SARS. So Section 27 then compels us to develop what we call the implementation protocols in terms of defining the interface between the BMA and these other structures. So in this instance, all of those protocols are signed, and they clearly define the difference between what we do and what those structures do. Now, in terms of your question, the relationship between the Border Management Authority and the South African National Defence Force. One, we are responsible in terms of the borderline to do what we call border law enforcement. So we basically take care of the borderline and deal with individuals who will try to enter the country illegally. We have to make sure they get arrested, take them back to port, process them for deportation. We take their fingerprint, ban them for 5 years, which is basically what we call listing them to make sure that they can't re-enter the country. Even if they try to do so legally, they will actually be V-listed, as we call it. So in terms of our relationship with the Defence Force is not a border law enforcement organization. It is a military. Their responsibility is border safeguarding and border protection. They are responsible for ensuring the country's territorial integrity. They are to make sure that the country does not get invaded by another conventional military or some kind of of bandits or some kind of a rebel group or anything like that, which effectively mean that if you need to have an appreciation of the distinction between our job and their job is, if a 90-year-old Zimbabwean crosses the border on the borderline, you can ask yourself whether is that a border law enforcement issue or a military issue. Automatically, it is implied it is a border law enforcement issue because the person has just broken immigration laws. Similarly, in terms of the agricultural biosecurity work that we do, we are also to make sure that animals don't move from other jurisdictions into our country. And that is why we have a fence that deals with the movement of animals to make sure that we don't import foot and mouth disease in our environment. So how do we relate with the Defense Force? We interface with them to make sure that when we see a possible threat that is beyond border law enforcement, we activate them and they're able to come on board. For instance, when we deal with these organized guys who actually are busy pushing illicit cigarettes coming through the northern border, then we are able to then bring the Defense Force. We work with them to actually deal with those particular syndicates. That is the level of the interface we have. We have a direct link in terms of communication with them, and we're able to work in that context.
It's quite a huge task you have ahead of yourself. Then it means that cooperation with your neighboring, immediate neighbors, as far as South Africa is concerned, maybe Lesotho, Botswana, Zimbabwe, is quite key as well. How you what sort of collaboration is there with like-minded agencies as well, but also on a state-to-state level, your experience?
Yeah, no, indeed. I mean, if you talk about land from a border management point of view, it's an interjurisdictional issue. It is not a one country. I mean, if you talk air and you talk sea, there at least is a bit different. When you talk about land, indeed, we do engage with our immediate neighborhood, all 6 of them, and we basically have what we call cross-border interjurisdictional committees where we engage with our immediate neighborhood. And in those particular conversations, for example, if we go to operations, there are ports of entry which do not operate on a 24-hour basis. You will realize that when we go to festive operations, we always extend operating hours. So we can't extend operating hours on our side only. We have to make sure we engage with them. We agree on synchronizing the hours. If we used to close at 10, we push the hours to midnight, for example. So they have also to do the same, because you don't want to process people on your side and they got stuck on the other side. So we definitely engage with them. But over and above just normal work that we do on a daily basis at the ports, we also collaborate with them in terms of securing the borderline, in terms of ensuring that animals don't come through illegally on the other side, because it is also in their interest. If the animals from South Africa that might be infested with foot and mouth can go on their side, they will go and infect their animals. And that is why we work together to make sure that that does not happen. So that is the kind of relationship that we have. We continually engage with them, and the relationship is fairly grounded. The only difference is they do not do much investment when it comes to illegal migration. And the reason for that is because it is not necessarily something that is affecting them that much, and that is why you will realize that they don't do much investment, and that is why it becomes us that has to put more measures on the table to deal with illegal migration.
SONA tonight, quickly, expectations as a South African.
So firstly, I want to indicate that we are here, as the Border Management Authority, being invited. We are here mainly to take notes in terms of what the president is going to be saying. We are responsible for border management in the country. And on that basis, whatever that the Commander-in-Chief is going to articulate around issues of border management, around issues of interjurisdictional collaboration, issues of cross-border crime, or anything of that nature, whatever that is going to say, we will have that noted, and we will definitely make sure that we implement accordingly. So obviously, as a South African, we definitely expect a lot that will be coming out of the president. But from us at the technical level, we are waiting for the articulation that will drive the work we need to do in the 2026-2027 financial year, and we are very much committed to take notes as the speech unfolds.
Commissioner, let me thank you so much for your time. Really, it's a pleasure to talk to you.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Great, great, great.